What are the signs, the 4 signs that you're in a toxic relationship? That is what we're going to talk about now. Hello again, Adam Laurie back again, and we're talking about toxicity within a relationship. What are the 4 signs that you're in a toxic relationship? Now, toxic relationships can develop over time. They can develop sooner in a relationship. They can develop later on, many years later on in the relationship. But the 4 signs are what we're going to talk about, how you can spot them, and maybe you can then, investigate your own relationship. Are these signs showing up in your relationships, or have they shown up in relationships in the past? So the first sign that we would look for is you no longer operate as the team you once did, or the team you thought you would operate as. So not able to work together as a unit, kind of contradicting each other's ideas and behaviors and beliefs and future plans also. So it's important to make note in the relationship of whether you're feeling kind of angry a lot, whether you're feeling disappointed in a relationship, whether you feel that kind of negativity when you're around each other is a strong sign. And also ask yourself, is it something that you can work through? Is it something that can be fixed? Is there something behind these feelings? That is the kind of time when you need to decide or investigate and look into the relationship, or whether it can be resolved. So if those feelings of negativity, disappointment, anger, a kind of that disappointment in the expectation of the other person is not there, you feel that resentment, that's a kind of a red flag in a relationship that something is not going right, obviously. So it's important to investigate that and see if you can then work through it together. Now, number 2 on the list is codependency. Now, codependency is something I'm going to talk about again in another video anyway, but the codependency is when you have two roles in the relationship. A codependency relationship would include one who's the giver, who gives their time, gives their finances and the kindness, and one is the taker, which is the one who relies on that financial support, maybe relies on that kindness, that respect, that support that the receiver expects from the relationship. Now, the one who gives everything in the relationship is the one who's going to kind of suffer. I mean, both suffer in the end eventually, because the giving person often is exhausted and they drain themselves of this emotional energy. So emotionally drained, financially drained, and feels like the support is running out in the relationship, and they find it increasingly difficult to sustain that in the relationship. And number 3 on the list is everything starts to unravel. Everything seems to be falling apart. It's like you cannot focus on anything else. So maybe you had hobbies and interests outside the relationship, and now all you can do is focus on where everything is going wrong in the relationship. So it's noticing those subtle changes. And these can accumulate, as we said, from early on in the relationship and slowly build throughout the relationship until those little frictions start cropping up. And you start to feel that emotional drain on you, that physical drain, and trying to keep this relationship going. So it's important to recognize that stuff, everything around you, like your life, your finances, your home, starts to unravel and seemingly not be in as good a condition as you thought it would be, or as you think it should be. So the things that are going to start unraveling for you is your emotional health, your mental health, your financial health, your spiritual health, and even to a degree, your physical health will all start to be affected. So number 4 on the list is you start to notice narcissistic tendencies, either in yourself or your partner, or in the other person. So you may feel like you're you're lacking the kind of emotional intelligence that you once had, or you start finding it's difficult to control those emotions. You start showing less remorse for things. You start to find, you know, you may find yourself more self-absorbed, and all these things you may find in your partner as well, in the other person in the relationship. You may start to see these signs creep up, so that sort of how the relationship once was is no longer that warm, that caring, that emotionally supportive. You find yourself being irritated easily by the other person, and these things are narcissistic tendencies. And when I talked about that in my last videos on narcissism, as I said, we all have a degree of narcissistic tendencies within us. So we all have a narcissistic side, but in a toxic relationship, these tendencies can be drawn out in us or in the other person quite easily. So if you start noticing these narcissistic tendencies within yourself and within your partner, it's a pretty strong sign that the relationship is heading into that toxic relationship area. So all these signs that you can be looking for within your relationship. So those 4 signs are pretty much the kind of main areas, the main flags that you can look for, or maybe you have spotted in the relationship already. So if you find you've been affected by these 4 areas in the relationship, you can comment below what experiences have you had in a relationship where you've been increasingly noticing that the toxicity within that relationship is getting more and more and more. Now, I should stress that not everyone is affected very, very deeply by these four topics that I've been going over today. Some people can make it work. It doesn't really affect some people, but it's if you're being affected in a very negative way is when you need to do something about it. So don't think that if you are experiencing these things and it seems to be working, then that's great. You know, that's absolutely fine. That doesn't necessarily fall into a toxic relationship. If it works for you, then brilliant. But it's if it's working against you, that's when you should really be doing something about it. So comment below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It really helps my numbers and the channel get better and better, so I can do more videos. And yeah, it really motivates me to keep doing these videos as well. So again, if you haven't, please subscribe. Watch my other videos as well. They're all pretty interesting things about relationships and also addictions as well. I've talked about addictions in my previous videos as well. So until next time, take it easy, guys. Bye.